Hello, and thank you for joining us for the 2020 virtual Dia de los Muertos celebration, presented by the City of San Antonio World Heritage Office. My name is Rebecca VIAGRAN, City Council Member for District 3. Day of the Dead is a beautifully vibrant celebration that includes rich traditions, colorful mementos, and symbols of remembrance, and most importantly, our families, generations coming together. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello, my name is Jesus de la Torre, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Dia de los Muertos. You probably already know a lot about Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, but I'm going to give you a little bit of history. Now, first of all, we have to remember that Dia de los Muertos really has nothing to do with death. Yeah, odd, right? Because the name is right in there. It has to do with life. The life we shared with someone we love that's no longer with us physically, but continues to live with us spiritually, right here in our hearts, right? And that's the case for me. I've been celebrating Dia de los Muertos for many, many years, and mostly to honor my parents, Jesus and Leonor. There's a photograph of them behind me. And many of us celebrate Day of the Dead this way, and we don't even realize that it's a continuation of ancient traditions, and we're going to see how they are still here, right? So, some of the things that are still remain here are the four elements that are represented in an ofrenda. Four elements. Those are earth, fire, water, and wind. Those are the four elements that are represented on this ofrenda. Now, rest assured that if you want to celebrate Day of the Dead, you don't need to do all this. All you need is to have good thoughts about the people you're inviting and share some memories and some food with them. Because basically it's a party. It's a party to celebrate the life of our loved ones. So earth is represented by the flowers and the bounty of the earth, right? The fruits and vegetables that we put on there, the food as well. The flowers also represent the earth. The fire is represented by the candles we burn, also the incense that rises up to the heavens. And it's also represented by a special flower that we use a lot for Day of the Dead. I hold it up here because up here, doesn't it remind you of the sun, right? Yeah, it is the sun, the thing that gives us life, the marigold. It's a very special flower for us. It represents fire. It also represents earth. Okay, the third element is water, and water is simply represented by the water that we place on the ofrendas. In this case, we have some glasses of water there, and we'll talk a little bit more about them, why it is that I have 3 glasses of water, even though I'm only inviting 2 people to this party. All right, so you have water, and the last one is wind. Now, you can't see wind, but take a look at this. You can see what wind does. And that is what papel picado represents. This perforated paper that we use for many celebrations represents wind on this ofrenda. So this celebration has evolved, and what we include on this ofrenda is very traditional. Now I'm going to point out some of the things that are ancient. For example, so we see a lot of skulls on ofrendas, right? And yes, they represent death, but they also represent an ancient Mexica deity. Yeah. And sometimes you also see the Catrina, right? That woman dressed with the big hat and the beautiful dress, right? The Catrina. She also represents an ancient deity. So we have Mictlantecutli, the lord of the underworld, and the Catrina is Mictecasihuat, the mistress of the underworld. Did you know you were representing that on the ofrenda, or when you dress yourself up? So we have some ancient traditions here, right? We have the 4 elements represented, and we have Mictlantecutli and Mictecasihuat also represented here on this modern ofrenda. So those are some of the ancient traditions that you still see today, and certainly the flower cempasúchil is one that has been used for centuries. But what about today? So now we're going to talk about the way we celebrate Dia de los Muertos today. So here in San Antonio, we tend to celebrate Dia de los Muertos as a large communal kind of celebration, right? Like what we're doing here at Las Misiones. And some people celebrate it at home as well. But in Mexico, especially Central and South Mexico, people celebrated in the cemetery, going to the gravestones, setting up the ofrenda there, and partying with their dearly departed right there. So an ofrenda, what this is really just an offering, right? And so here we are offering something to the people that we're inviting to this party. It's a party, right? And so when you invite people to a party and you're honoring them, you probably are going to want to have the special kind of food that they liked. So for this party that I'm inviting my parents to, I have pan dulce. I also have some tamales because we love tamales, and we also include an invitation, right? So this party, people are going to come to this party, but how am I going to invite people who no longer are alive? Well, it's where our friend cempasúchil comes in handy again. We also use cempasúchil as an invitation. We'll take the cempasúchil, we'll take it apart, we'll separate the petals, the multitude of petals that it have, remember Sempoali, and we sprinkle a path. We sprinkle a path that'll lead our special guest straight to us. And when we get to the front of the ofrenda, we'll make a cross with the petals. It's not the cross representing Jesus. It is simply the 4 directions: north, south, east, and west. The way I set up mine is in the 3 levels. You don't have to do it in 3 levels, but I like to do it in 3 levels. I have the celestial level, the heavens, right, where I like to think that my parents are, and that's where I place their pictures. I also have the earthly level, and that is the place where I place the bounty of the earth, the food, right, all the good stuff that we're going to share with them. And then there's the underworld. The underworld, that's where Mictlantecutli and Mictecasihuat reside. That is not hell. So the Christians came over to the New World, and they brought the idea of hell, but for the Mexica and other indigenous people of the Americas, there was no hell, right? you died and you went to another place. As a matter of fact, the place you went to was a very pleasant place. So to the Mexica people, to the indigenous people of the Americas, there was no hell. The hard part was the part that we have now. Living on earth is the difficult time. Once we are gone, we enjoy ourselves for eternity. It's kind of a beautiful idea, right? And so that's the underworld. 3 levels, 1, 2, 3, celestial, earthly, and as well as the underworld. So I'm going to talk to you now about this particular ofrenda, right? So I'm thinking about my parents, and I'm going to get up and I'm going to show you some of the things that are on this ofrenda that are special to my parents. Here we go. So this ofrenda is for my parents, so Jesus and Leonor de la Torre, and on this celestial level, I put things that remind me of them. They were married, so I have these novios. Isn't that pretty? Yeah, I like that. And I also have this one that has more people and church and all that good stuff, kind of like the San Jose, or wouldn't you say? All right, and it is a party. So we gotta have some music, and there we have the mariachis, da 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 da. Right? So I like to have all those things. My mother was a seamstress, my dad was a tailor, and so I found this little monito, and it is a person who is at a sewing machine, because both my parents relied on sewing machines to make their living, to put us through school, to help raise us. So I always include that on there. That's on the celestial level. On the earthly level, as I said before, I have some tamales. I also have 3 glasses of water. Why would I have 3 glasses of water? I have 3 glasses of water because it's a party, and which one of us goes to a party alone, all solito? Not many of us, right? So in case my parents come back and maybe my tia comes along with them, well, I have some water there for us. So I also have some salt here. The salt is to help preserve the souls, right? So earth, wind, fire, and water, right? Earth, bounty, wind, the papel picado, water, fire. All these things are on my ofrenda. Does your ofrenda have to look like this? Not at all. You can make it as elaborate or as simple as you want. As long as you have good memories and good intentions in your heart, then that's all that matters, right? So enjoy your day here at Las Misiones, celebrating Dia de los Muertos. Thank you for listening, and we'll get you next year. Bye.
Abuelito, abuelita, yo te quiero tanto, tanto, yo te canto, 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 pane, guane, oh meteo, pane, guane, oh meteo, hey, oh, esta sol se acabó, ya el nuevo empezó, pane, guane, oh meteo, pane, guane, oh meteo. Hey, oh, abuelito, abuelita, yo te quiero tanto, tanto, yo te canto, 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 pane, guane, oh, meteo, pane, guane, oh, meteo, hey, oh, esta sol se acabó, ya el nuevo empezó, pane, guane, oh, meteo, pane, guane, oh, meteo, hey, oh, esta sol se acabó, ya el nuevo empezó, pane, guane, oh, meteo, pane, guane, oh, meteo, hey, oh, esta sol se acabó, ya el nuevo empezó, pane, guane, oh, meteo, pane, guane, oh, meteo, hey, oh, abuelito, abuelita. fiesta, yo te quiero tanto, tanto, yo te canto, 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 pane, guane, oh, meteo, pane, guane, oh, meteo, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, yo. Esta sol se acabó, ya el nuevo empezó, pane, guane, oh, meteo, pane, guane, oh, meteo.
Hello, I'm Javier Flores with the City of San Antonio World Heritage Office. Thank you for joining us in celebrating Dia de los Muertos on our virtual celebration. Things are a little different this year, but we're glad that you're still joining us. And we're especially excited and very glad and honored to have Councilwoman Rebecca VIAGRAN, who is a City Council member for City Council District 3. And she's put together these beautiful altares. Each one honors a different woman that is special and important to her. And Councilwoman, thank you so much for being with us today and celebrating virtually. We appreciate that. And these altars are beautiful. Thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about them. Like I said earlier, you are honoring three very important women in your life. Tell us about that and what these mean to you.
Thank you, Javier. Yes, I'm very honored to be here today and to have these ofrendas, remembrances for our community members and three very important women in my life. We'll start with the first one. At the top, we have a altar or remembrance for Ida Ramos, who worked in District 3 in my office, but who also was a lifelong San Antonian and District 3 resident. Some of the mementos that we have up here are of her rosary that she held onto, of course, many pictures of her and her family, her children, her grandchildren, and then some fiesta medals, because she loved fiesta, and so we definitely had some fiesta medals up here for her for remembrances. And of course we have the marigolds up and down all levels of the ofrenda, because that is what makes it vibrant for our family members who have passed, our friends who have passed. Next, we have one with Jennifer Davila, a friend who went to high school and grade school with me. Of course, when you're from the South Side, you know people for a very, very long time, and she just recently passed, unfortunately. But we have mementos of here, of course, of when she was smaller. We have a scarf, because she loved to wear scarves, and then a memento of Frida Kahlo, one of her favorite artists here. So these are some mementos of Jennifer. And then finally, of course, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who recently passed away, 27 years on the bench, and we have some mementos that are iconic for her, such as her collar, some pearls, a collar, and one of her famous quotes, "I dissent." So it's important for us to honor, to remember, and to celebrate our families and the people in our lives that mean so much to us. So thank you for letting me share a little bit about that.
Yes, absolutely. There's so much color, there's so many vibrant things here. How did you go about choosing what to put on the altar, because it's such a personal choice?
I think for us, what was important is Ida and Jennifer were such big personalities of people. So we wanted to make sure that it was very bright, vibrant colors. And I think many people have taken in Justice Ginsburg as one of their own from whatever part of the nation you're from. And so this is part of our tradition of honoring her with the vibrant colors as well. So that is part of it, and also some food, because we want to make sure everyone is fed when they come and they visit, but also many candles so we can have light, because we know that it is not, we overcome the darkness with light.
The Dia de los Muertos celebration has become more and more popular over the recent years. Is this something that you've been celebrating with your family for a long time?
My family has always had little altares in their house. My grandfather, my grandmother, they would have statues and symbols in their house with the saints and pictures of their family members that they would always be sure to pray for and then honor the people from the past. So it has been a custom that I think myself and many others have really grown into even more recently. my father passed away, so in our home, we do have one little area, ofrenda, in our house, where during this time of the year, we make sure that all of the pictures or all of the things that remind us of him are put there in one special section in our house this time of year. We usually don't do that, but this time of the year we do. We have some softballs there. He really likes sweet drinks, so we put some sweet drinks up there for him there, and as well as flowers and as well as a lot of pictures.
And what does that mean to you to be able to honor, your family, especially like your father, even now?
I think it's important, just like these women, but like my father as well. It's important because we don't want to forget, and we always are reminded of every day the impact they've had in our lives, the impact that they have even now. Even though they've passed, they're continuing to impact our lives, and we want to always make our ancestors and those that have passed proud. And that is why it's so important to me.
Councilwoman, this year, as you know, has been an interesting year, one for the books, for sure. So much has happened. This celebration is virtual this year. We can't be in person. And right now, we're taking the opportunity to remember our loved ones, remember sort of everything that we've been through. As the year is winding down, what would you like to remember this year as? What do you want to take away from this year?
This year, I think I would like to take away that this would be the year that sets our revolution here in the United States. I think I want to take away that this is the year where we as individuals have made the decision to care in a different way for one another. Just like you're wearing your mask for me, and we've been wearing a mask and socially distancing because we want to make sure others are kept safe. So that's what I want to take away, a revolution in making sure that we care for the other so much more than we've done in the past.
Wonderfully said, Councilwoman. Thank you so much for being with us and celebrating with us. It's been, like I said, an interesting year, but thank you for taking time to put this together. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And again, thank you to everybody for joining us virtually. Our celebration continues here online. Thank you for joining us and being safe at home. We appreciate that. So we've got more coming up, but again, thank you, Councilwoman. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Patricia Bedoy, one of the owners of Bedoy's Bakery, and I'm here to talk about Pan de Muerto. Pan de Muerto is an essential part on the celebration of the Dia de los Muertos. The origin of Pan de Muerto, it has different versions, but it always goes back to the same thing, which is the Aztecs and the human sacrifices that they made. Of course, when the two cultures combined, they were not going to allow any more human sacrifices. So it was replaced by the bread. For example, this bread symbolizes, this round part symbolizes the body, this symbolizes the bones, and this part symbolizes the skull. And that's what we use in the celebration of Dia de los Muertos. If you don't have Pan de Muerto in your ofrenda is not complete. Okay, this is the most traditional one. The body, this one, it goes more back to the Aztecs times when they used to make sacrifices. What we do is we present this, we can put it in the altar, or we can eat it with our family, which is delicious, by the way. It takes a couple of hours because the bread, of course, they had to prepare the dough, and the bread needs to rise. It's just like the conchas. If you have ever eaten conchas or sweet bread, your traditional sweet bread, it takes some time to rise. Once it's ready, the bakers start dressing up the bread by making their dresses. This recipe goes back to when Manuel Bedoy opened the bakery in 1961, which next year will be 60 years since we established the bakery. He learned the recipe from his father. When he came here to San Antonio, Bedoy's Bakery was it was the first bakery that baked Pan de Muerto. So we continue that tradition by not changing any of the recipes or the ingredients. This year is going to be so different because we cannot get together in large groups like we have done it previously. We have to just stay in our same family and remember our loved ones. But it's gonna be a very special celebration because especially in our Hispanic community, we lost a lot of people this year due to the virus. So it's very important that we all gather together, look at that empty chair thing we have, and we're happy that we spend that time with that loved one. So I encourage everybody, if you cannot go outside and celebrate, do a virtual celebration and invite your friends and family to celebrate with you. And thank you very much for inviting us to share our story with you. And we are waiting for you at Bedoy's Bakery. We thank you for allowing us to celebrate this year with you.
Cuando te pensé a querer, un beso de medianoche y el otro al amanecer. Uy, era de madrugada cuando te pensé a querer. Y no se me canse nada, para si te puede ver por algún agujerito. Todita la noche anduve rondando tu casquelito pa' ver si te puede ver por algún agujerito. Todita la noche anduve rondando tu casquelito pa' ver si te puede ver por algún agujerito. Eso mero. Todita la noche anduve rondando tu casquelito. Para si te puede ver por algún agujerito. Eso mero. Oye, compadre. Lucero de la mañana, préstame tu claridad para seguirle los pasos esa joven que hoy se va. Lucero de la mañana, préstame tu claridad para seguirle los pasos a esa joven que hoy se va. Lucero de la mañana, préstame tu claridad para seguirle los pasos a esa joven que hoy se va. Ay, ay, ay.
Hi, my name is Teresa Ibanez, and I'm an artist and educator, and I work with the World Heritage Office for their Dia de los Muertos festival here at the Mission Marquee Plaza. I'm going to show you how to make a pretend sugar skull today. So sugar skulls are made out of sugar to be given to children as a gift, but they are also made to put on your altar in the remembrance of a person who has passed. When they make the sugar skulls, they're made of pure sugar in a mold, and you'll see them at the mercados, and they're already decorated, and they'll have this beautiful, colorful foil over the forehead. And you can request your name or your child's name or a person whom you want to remember on your altar, and they will write that name on there. Small ones are for children, and you'll see some really large ones. Those large ones are for the altar for November 2nd. Sugar skulls are completely made out of sugar, and they make a mold, pour this sugar liquid, thick liquid, into the mold. The mold dries. And I don't make them myself. I've tried making them. It takes a lot of practice. They're very sensitive to temperature. And so any moisture makes them start melting. Or really high temperatures as well, it'll start melting. So they're very sensitive, and it's a trick to making them. But they are made of solid sugar. And I'm not making sugar skulls. I'm going to make a pretend one out of clay today. They're made out of sugar as a symbol of the sweetness of life. You know, everything that is put on an altar is symbolic of earth, of this place where the living are. So today I'm going to be making air clay skulls in memory of sugar skulls. I'm going to be using the following materials. I'll be using some air clay, which you can get anywhere, H-E-B, dollar store, Walmart, some glue, some glitter glue, some sequins, and some permanent markers. These are some that some kids made last year for Day of the Dead. And so they look like this. You can also put a magnet on the back so that you can remember of Day of the Dead every day. Or you can make some that are a little larger and decorate them with different items that I have here. So what I'm going to show you is just how you use the clay, and all it is pinching and pulling, pinching and pulling. And you can use little tools, you know, to make the details of the calavera, but I like using my finger and just pushing in for the sockets of the eyes and using my thumb to make the space for the nose and pinching out cheekbones, or using my finger for the teeth to make the little gaps of the teeth, right? And so it's an oval shape. You can pinch out the skull if you want to make it look more realistic, and you can do really detailed work with the clay for those students or children that like having a lot of detail. And then after you shape it the way you want, you would put some glue wherever you're going to put the sequins and just push it in. And I like getting the big sequins because it's easier, especially for children, to work with larger sequins than smaller ones. And you can take the marker and start just decorating it with the different color markers. And put as many decorations as you want. Cover it up with, I have this glitter that looks like sugar. And decorating it in any way that you want. And so you could take some of your glitter after you put some glue down. And so with some of this clay, if it's a little damp, you can just press it in. And you can have your calavera decorated and ready to put on your altar in remembrance of someone. You can even write the person's name on there. So if you want to write, I'll put my grandmother's name on here, Maria. And put that on your altar to remember her. So you have your little calavera ready to put on your altar or to decorate your refrigerator if you put a magnet on the back. Voila, la calavera de Maria. So thank you for spending time with me. on learning a little bit about sugar skulls and learning how to make a air clay skull. I really appreciate you celebrating Dia de los Muertos y Feliz Dia de los Muertos. Gracias.
Earlier we heard from Councilwoman Rebecca VIAGRAN about her altar here at Mission Marquee Plaza in celebration of Day of the Dead. Now we're joined by Jeanette, who also put together an altar for the same celebration. Jeanette, welcome and thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Yes, so you've put together an amazing altar for your family, honoring generations and generations. Tell us a little bit about what you've put together here for us.
Well, we've lived here at the Mission. I lived here, raised here, played in Mission San Jose in the grounds since I can remember. But it all started back actually in 1731 with Maria Betancourt that came here from the Canary Islands. They were actually settled downtown, but then they turned around and had ranches, so they moved out a little bit. And so from Maria, we got the first Alvino, Pacheco, and then my grandmother and grandfather. And from there, we've gotten all our family, Pachecos, as far as, well, the most recent one was actually just died a few months ago. But we've got several generations here.
Yes, tell us a little bit about some of the items that you have up here. In addition to the pictures, you also have some interesting little mementos here. Tell us a little bit about them.
Well, the bread represents just having, you know, the things that they enjoyed during their lifetimes here. We actually used to put out a lot more, but being that we're a little condensed here, so we just put down some of the most essential things. There's like I said, the pan dulce. Everybody loves pan dulce in the morning, right, with their coffee. So we put that out. I know my grandmother and grandfather enjoyed that all the time. We have some cotton there. My uncles, my grandparents, as a matter of fact, even myself, when I was a little bitty girl, used to pick cotton. And they traveled all over the, you know, southern Texas picking cotton. So we put some of that there to represent that. There's other things, decks of cards that they played, used to love to play cards. Musicians, had a lot of musicians in our family too. So we just put out things to remember them by, so that they, well, as the tradition goes, the day that they come to visit us. And we want to let them know that we haven't forgotten them. And we haven't forgotten any of the traditions that we celebrated with them.
So yeah, I see here even you've got some of the little pink sponge rollers for the hair, which are
yes,
really
actually those belong to the Hernandez, but I do know that they just represent some of the things for the families.
Yes, absolutely. And you were telling me, Jeanette, that this is about the 4th year that you've celebrated.
I believe this is actually the 5th year. The past 4 years has been at the granary at San Jose.
Wonderful.
And we like to, like I say, remember our families every year. One thing that has really been beneficial was when the movie Coco came out. It helped children understand what this was. And so my children, and I even have some great-grandchildren that now get involved with this too. And that's really what we want. We want to carry the tradition on so that when we're all gone, they're going to participate and understand what it is and not fear it.
Absolutely. You know, this is something that you know, I know you've done together. When you put these altares together, is it several of your family members that help you, or is it?
Yes, I have daughters that help me. My cousin, we always come out. The two of us usually come out, but we do have other members of the family. Even some of my grandchildren come out when they're able to help. Right now they're in school, so they weren't able to come out today, but we do try to get everyone as involved as possible.
Yes, well, it's definitely something for the entire family.
Oh, yes.
You all did a fantastic job putting your altares together. So congratulations,
and
thank you for being a part of the celebration this year again. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you, Jeanette. We really appreciate it, and thank you all for hearing Jeanette's story. We'll be back in a little bit with some more information on Dia de los Muertos here at Mission Marquee Plaza.
I'm Raul Rene Gonzalez, and this is my painting here featuring the Muerto family. I was asked to be part of this project by Rigoberto Luna, and as soon as he asked me to do it, of course I had to say yes. I was just, first of all, honored to be part of this project that honors family and traditions in this city. And this piece, especially because a lot of my artwork that I create has to do with family and work, and it was great to be able to convey the same type of messages shown here, showing the lifelong history of a family who has done a lot to help the city of San Antonio, particularly in the water systems and how they're used today. The Muerto family contributed to taking care of the ditches that would pass water on through farming systems, and back in the early 1890s of San Antonio, and that continued on and on. Back then, the water systems worked totally different. There were groups of families who were part of the community, would vote on how water usage was used. People were charged by the hour to use water in order to irrigate and take care of their farms, which provided vegetables and other things for the families in San Antonio. And again, I just want to say thank you for listening, and I hope you'll come and check out this work as well as all the other 10 paintings that are here on display. Thank you.
I'm Sister Martha Ann Kirk, a Sister of Charity of the Incarnate Word, and I'm delighted to remember Mission Espada by remembering our sister. She was born in 1874, Maria Guadalupe Fierro, on West Side San Antonio. She decided to take vows as an Incarnate Word sister in 1898. She was really a leader in education for Hispanics. She served in Mexico and also in the US, and we especially remember that in 1915, she and a sister from Ireland and another sister from Germany started Mission Espada School. They had about 80 students, 3 grades in one room, 3 grades in another room, and 2 grades in another room. She was completely devoted to the children in that area. Many of them had never finished 8th grade, and she wanted them to have educational opportunities. In fact, she educated Sister Raphael Etchell, who helped me when I became an Incarnate Word sister. Now, Sister Raphael wrote wonderful stories about Sister Pauline starting posadas and pastorellas with the families for Christmas at Mission Espada. And we are so grateful that the family of Sister Pauline came to our archives in 1917, and Rosemarie Mortola of San Antonio and Rosemarie's daughter, Joy Bergen of Belton, Texas, gave us some of her personal belongings. And you can see some of those in this wonderful image right here. Now, we also remember that Sister Pauline was devoted to education. So she started summer religious education in the Archdiocese of San Antonio. She was at Our Lady of Guadalupe in West Side San Antonio, and also in a number of small towns. Now, I live in West Side San Antonio, not too far from Guadalupe Community Center. In 1940, Sister Mary Victorine founded that to help disadvantaged families in the area, and Sister Pauline went there. She would visit homes, she would encourage families, get them into practical classes, and give them so many opportunities.
Hello, my name is Peter Rodriguez, and I'm a family descendant of Cleophas Sandoval. And we really want to appreciate Mr. Omar Gonzalez. He was the artist for our family portrait. And this is my brother.
I'm Hector Rodriguez, and I'm very happy to be here and privileged to be here. Very proud of our family, and thanks for Peter for helping put much of this together.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, I've got a few cheat notes, but my grandfather was Cleophas Sandoval. He came into the United States through Laredo in 1902. He was born in 1897, and he married, he met and married Felicitas Flores in 1923 there at the Mission Espada. And the house that you see in the picture here belonged to my grandfather and his sisters. We used to go to the house, and my mom would say, get up and, you know, let's go visit the tias at the Mission Espada. And we would come over and, you know, we just have a good time. Of course, we were little boys back then, you know, but we never really knew never know the significance of the home until, you know, till you grow up, and the family values that they instilled in us, especially my grandmother, Felicitas Flores. She was the matriarch. Unfortunately, she passed away before any of us were born. But you know, she instilled family values, and my grandfather and their siblings, which was my mom, Maria Teresa Sandoval, Luis Sandoval, Oralia Sandoval, and Emilio Sandoval. I don't know, do you have anything?
Yes, some of the fondest memories, of course, were of my grandfather's house and the tools that he worked with at the mission. Of course, he always seemed to hang them just out of the reach of us, but he was very proud of those tools, and he was a very skilled worker in terms of how he used them at the mission. So now, historically looking back, we can see all the pride that he had and the work that he did at the mission, and how important that work was at the mission as well too. So very fond memories, of course, of growing up there and running around the house, and now realizing the significance of what he did and the tools that he used, which were of course, very rare at this particular point.
And it's just something that we're very proud of, and we're blessed, and we're truly blessed as a family, and basically that's our legacy and our lineage and our heritage, and something that we're very, very proud of. And we would encourage everybody to come and look at the panels that are on display here for the Dia de los Muertos. It's a beautiful thing, and I know we're very proud and very happy to be a part of it. So thank you very much for everything that the World Heritage Office has done for me and my family to honor us. It's something that we'll cherish and remember forever.
Hi, I'm Cassie Ganeem, and I am the artist of the Madame Candelaria painting behind me. I was really intrigued by Madame Candelaria's story and her involvement in the siege of the Alamo. She was a nurse to Jim Bowie during the siege of the Alamo. But one of the interesting things about her story is that during her lifetime, and she lived to be about 105 years old, during her lifetime she wasn't really given any credit for her involvement, so many people didn't really believe her story. So as an artist, I was really interested in that aspect, how during her lifetime people didn't believe the story. And so I decided to, when I was researching for my painting, I collected as many different images as I could of her. And there really weren't that many images of her, so I collected as many images of her. And I set up a still life of books on a table and constructed and built this whole thing from life and did the painting from life. So it's a traditional still life painting with her being placed in the books. So for me, that has a lot of significance because she wasn't really given much credit during her life, but because I'm physically now putting her into books, it is giving her the credit that she didn't get in her lifetime. Thank you for listening to the story about Madame Candelaria. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.